So Tennessee football lacks star power in 2025. I mean, they hardly register a mention on any meaningful preseason poll. They're projected to finish in the middle of the pack. They're not really on any watch lists, and they're seriously not on any all-team lists. I mean, I think part of that is rage bait, but when you consider what the SEC media did when they listed their first, second, and third all-team lists, yeah, that's where Tennessee registered just 3 players. So as we're about 30 days out from the start of the season, where are the stars on Tennessee's roster? Do they really even have any? And as I look at their roster for the umpteenth time, I decide, let's put together Tennessee's top 11 players right now. And make sure you turn on your notification bell as Joey Aguilar talks Tuesday morning for the first time since becoming a Tennessee Volunteer, and we will be hanging on every word the potential starting quarterback says ahead of the 2025 season. I'm Paige Dauer. This is the Sports Page on Full Disclosure. My list has one caveat. They had needed to have had significant playing time at Tennessee a season ago. So if your favorite player is not on here, might be a differing of opinions, or he does not meet that one criteria. But the most important player for Tennessee in 2025 is one Jermod McCoy. He started all 13 games a season ago, had 4 interceptions and 13 PBUs. He was a lockdown defender. It was almost as if the football had his name on it and he was actually the intended receiver in a number of these scenarios. He is the most important player for Tennessee because of what he was able to do a season ago. I mean, you could just look at the handful of interceptions that he had twice, taking away a touchdown. And I'm sure the first one that comes to mind is, of course, the one at home against Alabama when he was covering one wide receiver and Ryan Williams and just absolutely able to get that one-handed snag out of the air and get that interception. The other one was an absolutely acrobatic interception in the end zone and the season finale against the Vanderbilt Commodores. Obviously, everyone has their attention on that injury he had following the end of the season in January where he hurt his knee in training. How is that progress going? Will he be back maybe, let's say, for Game 3, which happens to be against Georgia this season? And he would love to have Jermod McCoy down there to lock down that side of the field. But I don't think that his mindset has changed at all since we met with him last in December.
I think there's always something to prove, so I'm definitely going out there trying to show more that I can do.
Second best player on Tennessee's roster has to be Arion Carter. He had a breakout sophomore season, and a lot of that is a credit to how much he was a student of the game last season. He ended his freshman campaign kind of in and out of injury and spent much of that offseason injured, and because of that, he spent an enormous time in the film room. There were so many stories from a season ago where the linebackers coach and William Edge is like, why is his car still in the parking deck? Like, why is he still here at this ungodly hour, right? Like, Coach Inge thinking he's the last one leaving, but Arion Carter's car is still in the parking garage, and that's because he's still in the film room studying, breaking down plays, trying to read offenses and where he can improve himself, and that led to a breakout sophomore season where he was one of the most impactful players on Tennessee's roster, and he is maintaining that same level of intensity when it comes to understanding of the game, fundamentals, schemes, and just film study this season. So there is no doubt in my mind that what he did a season ago, he'll be able to build off of this season. I think he had 68 some-odd tackles he did. It was a team high. 29 went for solo tackles. He also had 6.5 TFLs, 1 interception, and 6 PBUs. So especially in the position he was at linebacker, having to be involved in run defense and pass rush defense as well. He absolutely was a difference maker in that position.
Going out full tilt and just bringing guys along with me, with me doing this and me having a full 3 years under my belt of doing this and being at having a certain level of experience, I just want to bring young guys along on this team.
Important player on this team, that their most talented person, I believe, that is on this team based what we saw from a year ago heading into this season, has to be one Joshua Josephs. The returning edge rusher is the only edge rusher returning in the country according to PFF with 85 plus grades both in run defense and in pass rush defense. He did so while sharing time with one James Pierce Jr. a season ago. He should assume the starting role this season. What he was able to do in that shared time should be a insanely encouraging sign for what we could expect to have him do this season. He ranked 5th on the team in overall tackles with 39. He was 2nd on the team in TFLs with 9, had 1.5 sacks, 3 PBUs, and 8 quarterback hurries. Being able to affect the quarterback in that essence will be what should be his bread and butter. He needs to continue to improve on his ability to affect the quarterback, get him under pressure, get a couple of sacks here and there, but he was able to do just that. And you might remember my viral tweet from a season ago where I asked Joshua Josephs, like, what's one thing we should know about the defense heading into 2024? And he's like, no one can stop us, and just went up and down the defensive line and all through the defense. And he remained to be true. Tennessee had one of the best defenses in the country a season ago. But that demeanor that we saw from Joshua Josephs a season ago is not the same Joshua Josephs that we saw back in April during spring practice. He has a completely different demeanor, one that is more calm, maybe a little bit more dangerous in the fact that he was unsatisfied with what he did a season ago.
I feel like I could have accomplished it still with James, but definitely I have more room, so you could say that.
I'm going to say here at 9 a.m. on Monday that Boo Carter is the 4th best player on this team at that star position that lacks serious depth, especially this season. What he was able to build off of in his freshman season will be vital for a team. Of course, the first 4 players, on this list are all defense, but Tennessee is led by its defense, and those are the 4 best players on Tennessee's team year in and year out, despite a lot of them not having, like Boo Carter, a huge book to go off of. But what he did a season ago, as one of the comments said on a viral tweet I had of him, is that he's a heat-seeking missile on defense. He absolutely is, highlighting his passion for the game.
I just got the passion for the game. I like defense. But yeah, the contact, I like to get, you feel me? I like to hit, you feel me? So yeah.
Then we get to our 6th best player on Tennessee's team. A little bit of offense to switch it up a little bit. Top 5 defense. Let's get to offense. And it should be no surprise to you, the first offensive player I mentioned is the running back room. Tennessee loves the run game, and they go through defense. And I decided to go with Deshaun Bishop. Because of what he did a season ago, and now being a scholarship player, and how much he was a role player for Tennessee a season ago behind one Dylan Sampson, I do suspect he will be able to contend for that starting job. I know they have another veteran player coming in. Who knows how they'll adjust to Tennessee and to SEC play. He kind of battled a little bit with Peyton Lewis a season ago, and I think Deshaun Bishop has the edge as probably the best offensive player Tennessee will have this season, especially if he can build off what he did a season ago. Just a couple of quick stats. He was finished 3rd in the SEC in average yards per carry with 6.15. A lot of the times you remember a season ago he would help Tennessee march down the field, and it was the offensive player of the year, and Dylan Sampson would do the job and punch it in for a touchdown to give Tennessee its score, which a lot of the times they were desperate of because of those slow starts. He also finished the year 2nd on the squad in rushing with 455 yards on 74 carries and a trio of touchdowns.
I just know there's an opportunity to be that guy, and I feel like I've embraced in that. I feel like I've worked to deserve that spot. But, don't get complacent, just being focused in the moment, living in the moment, just taking it like one day at a time, and I know that I'll reap the benefits of this when the season comes around.
And then we get to another offensive guy. It has to be wide receiver Chris Brazzell. I'm expecting this year to be an absolute breakout year for the wide receiver this season. Kind of understated a season ago, not necessarily all his fault, but because of his size, his speed, his agility, he can play in a number of slots or in positions for the wide receiver core, whether in the slot or on the outside. I definitely think with his size, he gives Tennessee a huge chance to help elevate what they can do on offense, should Joey Aguilar, whoever that starting quarterback is, get to him.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee. Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols.
That Tennessee's system is and the way it is historically, and with Josh Heupel, let's just go back to defense. I think the 7th best player on Tennessee, 7th most valuable spot for Tennessee will be at that safety spot, led by one Andre Turntine. He had a great season a year ago, really kind of broke out a little bit in that safety position, and I believe it'll be much of the same heading into this season, kind of being one of the last line of defenses. He had 37 tackles, 1.5 for loss, an interception, and 3 PBUs. It's certainly also a position where you don't want that spot to have a ton of tackles either. That means like your first and second line of or level of defense weren't necessarily doing their job. So for him to still be able to rise to the occasion, so kind of tally that much too, one, maybe being on the lower side highlights kind of what those front lines were able to do, and then he was able to take care of business on the back end as well. I think one of his better games was, of course, in the regular season finale against Vanderbilt, where he registered 3 tackles there. So for him to be able to kind of build off of that, be able to complement that last line of defense, so to speak, I think will help Tennessee limit what their opponents will do. They're facing some really good teams this season, especially starting with Georgia and what they want to be able to do down the field and stretching the field that way, especially with how stout their run defense is. A lot of pressure will be put on Tennessee's secondary in a sense this season. I want to get to Bryson Eason, the defensive tackle. One, that position alone is a huge spot for any successful football team. But with Bryson Eason starting in that position a season ago and being a part of a really dominant defense and coming to SEC Media Days, I'm suspecting that he'll have a similar season that he did a year ago. It's a huge role for him to fill, and it should be a successful year for him. Same thing with Miles Kitselman. He's my next best player for Tennessee football at the tight end position. I did a nice story on him following SEC Media Days where he, similar to Joshua Josephs, were very disappointed in what they did a season ago, despite having one of their better seasons in their collegiate career, especially for one Miles Kitselman. He didn't register any statistics his junior year, which was at Alabama, and then he comes to Tennessee in his senior campaign, starts all 13 games, leads the unit and yards and touchdowns, tacks on a couple or one receiving touchdown, has 5 total touchdowns on the season. I think that's, in the top 5 for SEC tight ends a season ago, but he wants to do a lot more. He has relied a lot on his faith to help guide him in this season, and with the way that Tennessee has utilized its tight ends the last handful of years, his success is valuable, his position is valuable, and depending on how the competition goes this season, I think he thrives in that type of competition and having younger guys vying for his spot. So for him to be successful, give Tennessee a different wrinkle, and you can get all 3 of those positions going. I think Miles Kitselman will be really impactful this season. Then we kind of get to our last 2, number 10. I'm going to go with another defensive player. Shocker, shocker. But this one's going to be defensive end, Dominic Bailey. I really like what he was able to provide Tennessee a season ago, and especially that defensive front. That defensive line is so huge in overall success. Of course, you have your second and third line of defense, but being able to limit the run game, get at the quarterback, huge. And I think Dominic Bailey will be able to do that. He played all 13 games this season ago. He had 10 starts and is now entering his 5th year, I believe. He was a redshirt senior a season ago. But he had a career best 25 tackles, 3.5 TFLs, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and 2 recovered. He had a number of really good games. As I was going through the rosters again, like I mentioned at the top, a lot of the guys had their breakout games or career high games against Alabama. So I think that game will be really exciting this season because a lot of those guys who had great performances are back this year. But even though that is at Alabama where Tennessee has struggled the last handful of years to win, Dominic Bailey could give them a good chance. And, with them rotating so many guys a season ago, just stay fresh if you're the starter. And if you weren't the starter a year ago, you have valuable experience. So I think Dominic Bailey is probably the 10th best and most valuable player on this team in 2025 from what we know a year ago. Then my last one. I feel a little risky doing this one, but I really liked him a year ago, and the team was really high on him, and they had a lot of compliments for him. He was learning from a lot of veteran players. He is in competition with one presumed starter or assumed starter, but they will share roles. So I feel so risky. I'm going to say Edwin Spillman. I think he's the 11th best player on Tennessee's roster. That might be my gamble. I know he'll be competing with Jeremiah Thielander for the starting job, as Thielander really kind of had that role, especially after Keenan Pili, I believe, in the same unit, went down this season ago with another injury, unfortunately. But I think those two will have some really good competition this season. Thielander is such a laser-focused person. He could still be very valuable, but I think the upside of what Edwin Spillman brings takes that last spot. Tennessee is so reliant on what the linebacker unit gives them that I think in of itself that unit is so valuable for Tennessee, and thankfully they have really valuable and talented players in their highly valued position. But for Edward and Spillman, I really do like what he was able to give Tennessee a year ago. I know he had some injury that he battled, but he's still really good. He came late to spring ball, I think a season ago, but what he learned in that is a lot of mental toughness. And where he wants to continue to grow is, of course, in the pass rush. But I think what he was able to give Tennessee makes him the 11th best player.
Right now, I feel like the best places where I've reached most improvement is my pass rushing and my blitzing technique. I feel like that right there is going to be something special in the fall.
I know Edwin kind of goes against maybe what I said at the beginning where he needed significant playing time, and I know he redshirted his freshman season, but in the amount of reps that we saw from him a season ago, I'm going to qualify that maybe as significant just because I have so much belief in, I think, what he'll be able to do this season. So I guess if there's one exception, it'll probably be the number 11th player. But Joey Aguilar and team talk Tuesday. It's fall camp starting on Wednesday, that 30-day mark to the start of the season. So make sure you turn on your notification bell. We'll be back around 11 a.m. on Wednesday for all things Tennessee football. And be sure to join us in the meantime for what the team has to say. I'll talk to you guys this week.